So let's talk completist versus generalist. Today's topic is all about this aspect of collecting, of whether you want to complete everything in the lineup or just cherry pick whatever figures or characters you like. So let's get started. Before we begin, as always, we got to start with definition. So, completist. What does it mean when you say you're a completist? This does not mean that, for instance, you're going to get the Constructicons. It doesn't mean that you're a completist if you want the whole set, all six Constructicons to form Devastator, and you're a generalist if you just want long haul or you just want hook. I mean, that's crazy, right? If it's a gestalt, if it's an actual set like the Fantastic Four, you got to get all four. Devastator, you got to get all six. The real question is, if you get Devastator, do you get every single combiner released in the line by Hasbro? Like, do you also get Superion, Menasor, Bruticus, and so on and so forth? If you get the Fantastic Four, does it mean that you also have to get the other teams like the X-Men, the Avengers, the Thunderbolts, the Inhumans, and all of that? Do you get all the teams? So it doesn't mean getting the entire team or splitting up the team. It means, when I'm talking about completist, is for every line you have to get. It means you have to get every single figure or every single product of that particular line. Whereas if you're a generalist, you want to get only one or two, or not the entire lineup for a particular toy line. Like, you only want to get Optimus Prime for the Siege line, or you only want to get Darth Maul and Darth Vader. You don't want to get the other Star Wars characters, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I hope that's clear, and we shall begin with pros and cons to jumpstart this discussion. Let's start with the pros of being a completist. Now, I'm guilty of that. When I started out collecting, I was a completist. I tried to get every single vintage collection. I tried to get every single Clone Wars figure, Black Series figure, Marvel Legends, and all so on and so forth. A good buddy of mine who used to be a fantastic toy reviewer on YouTube. His name is Ashrock. He started with a 3.75-inch Marvel Universe figures. He bought every single one of the Marvel Universe figures, and that makes him a completist. Now he's into the comic series figures for Marvel Legends, and he has to buy every single that's what I think, based on his feed, based on my conversations with him. He wants to buy every single Marvel Legends comic series figure that Hasbro is coming out. In a sense, that's a completist. I particularly am completing I'm completing the Studio Series line. I'm trying to get every single numbered product of the Studio Series line. That makes me a completist. So what are the pros for that? One thing is, in my opinion, I think there's a higher perceived value of your collection if you have a complete set. For obvious reasons, you have a complete set. It's very rare. You think the resale value would be higher because it's a complete set. Not everybody has a complete set, and if somebody's trying to begin a collection and he doesn't want to go through all that hassle of getting each and every one of the collection here and there, you can go to you and get the entire set for a particular value that's perceived to be higher than if you have an incomplete set. Okay, so that sort of rarity and high value perception you get when you have a complete set, and there's that gives you the drive, the desire to buy every single one because you feel in the future it'll be more valuable that way. There's also a satisfaction in completing the set. This is more of a psychological reason, whereas you feel like if you don't get every single one of the Autobots or the movie Autobots or every single Bumblebee that's been released by Hasbro, you feel like something's missing. It's that idea that completing a set sort of gives you a sense of satisfaction that you've achieved or accomplished something. So that kind of satisfaction comes with this kind of desire to complete everything. Also, it's sort of bragging rights. Every collector has a man cave or a woman cave or whatever, that you have a special place in your abode where you store all your prized collection. And there's that desire to boast of how much you have, and there is this perceived sense of epicness or awesomeness if you have a big collection, and it sort of gives you a little bit of bragging rights to say that, oh, I'm a hardcore collector because I have a complete set of the entire X-Men release for Marvel Legends. I have all the entire G1 Transformers. I have every single vintage collection figure that was re-released by Hasbro. I mean, stuff like that. It's sort of bragging rights that's, undeniably every single collector can somehow feel that at one point or another in his journey as a collector. So, and when you bring somebody to your place, you get to show off, and it's a nice way. It's a nice sense of achievement that you can be proud of and share with other collectors and say, this is what I've done. And now let's go to the cons of being a completist. Now, it's very stressful. Okay, because you have to complete the lineup, you have to get every single one of them, and sometimes the manufacturer makes it very difficult, particularly Hasbro. Sometimes one item is going to be an exclusive. If it's an exclusive, it will be very difficult to find, and oftentimes collectors like myself, if I can't complete the set, I'll get rid of the entire set, whatever I have. So it can be very stressful, especially if you're missing just a few pieces here and there to complete your set, and it's a pain to track it down. And also, when new stuff comes out, you feel that urge to just go out and search for every single one of them, and there's a little bit of a pressure to just buy everything just so you can complete the set. Okay. Another con, I think, is you need a lot of space. Obviously, that's an obvious con to this. If you have the complete set, you need space to display it or to sort it. Also, there is this sense of emptiness that you have every time you are unable to complete a set. Like when you're missing, I don't know, one of the Studio Series figures, you can't find it. You look at your collection and say, it's like there's a broken tooth or there's something missing in this collection. And that gives you a sense of dread that you're never going to find it, or a sense of emptiness that, maybe I'm not meant to complete the set. And the last thing last cons or negative thing about completing is you're usually oftentimes limited to only one or a few toy lines to collect, because it is very expensive to do so. It's going to be stressful. It's not cost effective. So you're going to be very picky with the lines you collect. You're only probably going to stick with Marvel Legends. Just complete the entire Marvel Legends lineup. Movie Marvel Legends, comic Marvel Legends, or Transformers. You either want to stick to only movie Transformers or just the Generation 1 characters. The same goes with Star Wars. I got a buddy, his name's Mike, and he decided to just drop all the 3.75 inch figures and just focus on the 6-inch figures for the original trilogy and the Clone Wars figures. That's it. No sequel trilogy, no other prequel trilogy figures, just focusing on the 6-inch figures. That's a big, and it's a very, very difficult decision to do, especially if a particular company releases various varieties of lineups, like the Justice League or Marvel Legends. There's several different scales here and there, Star Wars, and it can be a very, very difficult decision to make, to just stick with one particular line and limit yourself to that because you want to complete it. Okay, let's go with the generalist or cherry picking, just picking one particular or a few characters for a particular line. The pros for this is obviously it's less stressful, because especially when you're hunting, because like for the Siege line, if you're only interested in Optimus Prime, yes, it'd be very difficult to hunt for that figure, but you're not distracted with the other characters. You're not inclined to just, oh, should I pick up an Ironhide? Should I pick up another Bumblebee? You're just focused on one character, Optimus Prime, and that's least amount of stress, I think, for when you're trying to collect for a particular line. My buddies at Iacon City PH, Christian, Jay, Nico, Joshua, they're all Optimus Prime collectors, so they don't feel the need to buy Megatron, Starscream, or Bumblebee. They just stick with Optimus Prime, so it's less stressful. Another pro is there's economy of space. Obviously, if you have fewer characters, you have less space requirements. You'll generally have less cleaning. Organizing your collection isn't going to be that difficult because you only have a few pieces here and there. Third, you can dip into more toy lines than if you're trying to complete a particular toy. You can go Star Wars, Marvel, DC, SH Figure Wars. You can go anime, Transformers. You can go GoBots. You can do all sorts of toy lines and not be worried about cost, expensive toys and space, because you could just get all the Darth Vaders from all lines. Figure Wars, Mafex, you can go Hasbro, you go Gentle Giant. But sticking with Darth Vader. In a sense, that could be a completist, but I think it's more of a generalist because you feel you don't need to get every single figure released for a particular line. So it gives you more variety, it gives you more flexibility in collecting toys and collectibles. Okay, and obviously it's less expensive because you don't have to get everything. The cons for being a generalist. Well, you'll have a smaller collection, and to some collectors, that's not enough bragging rights. And I know a few people who feel that they don't want to show off their collection because they feel it's not as much as, let's say, a completist. And I talk to them and say, hey man, there's no such thing as a collection you should be ashamed of. Every collection is unique, and if you go to somebody's collection, whether he's a completist or a generalist, it's awesome and epic in its own way, because each collection reflects the personality of the collector. And that's actually what makes a collection interesting and epic in a sense. So I tell them that's you feel there's that feeling of shame that they have a small collection, they don't want to share it. Especially here in Manila, I've met several collectors, and I tell them no, you shouldn't be ashamed. But it is still a con, and some people feel that they need to get more just so they can show off their collection. Okay, another con is you have a tendency to sell off pieces more frequently than if you're a completist, because you don't have a complete set. There's no reason to hang on a particular toy if you're not really interested in. You wake up one day and you feel you're not interested in Optimus Prime anymore, and you want to collect Megatrons or you want to collect Bumblebees. So it's easy for you to let go of figures, and therefore your collection can grow smaller. And I've seen this in a few collectors. They eventually get out of the game and they lose interest because there's really nothing to tie them. There's really nothing holding them back from keeping the pieces because it's not a set. Also, there's no theme to the collection, and sometimes it can be a mix and a mashup of these hodgepodge of different Optimus Primes together with Luke Skywalkers and Darth Vaders. And again, it can be a very messy collection. But I do know some collectors, some friends of mine, who appreciate the orderliness of this kind of chaos. And also, another con is the perceived value is much lower because the collection is incomplete. If you're going to get rid of your collection, you usually can't demand a high price because it's only one piece here and there. Whereas if you have, like, for instance, you have 3 Kakus, most collectors will go after that than if you have only 1 Kaku in your collection. Or if you're trying to sell 1 reflector, siege reflector figure, most collectors need 3, so they're going to shy away from buying your 1 reflector, and they'll look for another collector selling 3 reflectors, and so on and so forth. So what does this all mean? At the end of the day, does it mean that one style is wrong and the other is correct? No, absolutely not. At the end of the day, I think you got to ask yourself again, what is it that makes you happy? If trying to complete a set is taking away the happiness you have with collecting, then stop it. I mean, if it's putting so much stress on your collecting daily life, then maybe you're doing it the wrong way. Some people love the stress. Some people drives them every day to get up and go hunting. Sure, that's all well and good. But some people are just happy to get, like I said, Optimus Prime, or they just want all Wolverines, or they just want all Darth Vaders. And they're going to stick with that, and it makes them happy. So you got to find out. You got to ask yourself, what is it that really makes you happy with toy collecting? Once you find out what it is, I think you got to stick with it. If one day you wake up and you feel the 3.75 inch figures are not doing it for you, then by all means drop it. For me, you'll live a happier life knowing that, you don't have to buy every single released Star Wars figure or Marvel Legends figure that was released in the 3.75-inch scale. If you feel that completing the set or completing a lineup makes you or requires you to buy toys or characters that you don't like, that you absolutely hate, then don't complete the set. It's less stressful and you'll enjoy your collection even more because you'll only keep the stuff that you absolutely 100% love and enjoy. So there you go, folks. Let me know in the comments what you think of this kind of dichotomy in toy collecting. Are you one of the completists? Are you one of the generalists? Let me know in the comment section what you feel about this. And as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me in this discussion. And until next time, I hope you've enjoyed my little discussion on completist versus generalist in our little hobby of toy collecting. Thanks for watching.